Ladies and gentlemen, this is Steve Eyes. You're on the EyesIsWatchin channel. Well, this just happened on the U.S. Debt Clock website, the same place that tells us how much debt the U.S. is in. It's now pushing something called the new money revolution and promoting promises of a golden age like it's some kind of financial salvation. But anyone that's actually paying attention knows exactly what this means. They're not talking about a return to real money or liberty. They're talking about the installation of a new control grid. Gold is at an all-time high, Bitcoin at an all-time high, you name it. It looks like alternative currencies are in now because there's obviously going to be a transition soon into a new monetary system. And now the promises of a golden age, new money revolution, looks like the rollout of a digital currency slavery state dressed up in red, white, and blue. Because this golden age isn't gold, it's code. Code that decides when you can spend, where you can go, what you're allowed to buy, and whether your account still works after posting an anti-Semitic meme. They're not offering a better system. They're rolling out a digital slavery system that they want to mandate and comes with a kill switch. This is the beta launch of a beast system. Programmable money, biometric ID, AI scoring, and zero room for dissent. And the fact that even the debt clock, the site that once stood as a warning, is now part of the golden age BS, lets us know we officially entered the next phase. They're not warning you anymore, they're welcoming you in. So no, it's not the golden age, it's more like the golden cage. And once you're inside, the doors lock behind you. And speaking of golden cage, while everyone's distracted with RFK Jr.'s latest theatrical monologue in Congress, exposing the failures of the pandemic policy like it's still 2021, he's out here bravely repeating what everyone and their mama knows. Okay, COVID was a disaster, lockdowns were a scam, and Fauci was a fraud, groundbreaking stuff. So while the political puppet show makes headlines, this happens behind the scenes. This is insane. Flock Safety, a $7.5 billion AI surveillance beast backed by the usual suspects, like Andreessen, Horowitz, and Peter Thiel's crew, has quietly blanketed America with over 80,000 license plate reading cameras and is now launching drones that respond to AI-generated alerts in real time. This is crazy. Yeah, you heard that right. Minority Report isn't sci-fi anymore, people. It's actually happening. Pre-crime units, drone surveillance, these AI eyes don't just scan your plates, they track your bumper stickers, dents, and whether your window's cracked. That's what they say here. And now they've got flying robots ready to launch from rooftops the second an algorithm gets concerned. Cops are basically playing Call of Duty in real time from control rooms, zooming in on your face half a mile away, all while AI transcribes your panic 911 call into live clickable crime data. If anyone has seen battlefield footage out of Ukraine, they would understand why this could lead to a satanic nightmare, it's just waiting to happen. Nerds are sitting behind computer screens in Ukraine controlling drones that are equipped with explosives, and the footage is so brutal that I won't play it here. Honestly, it's traumatic stuff. I was traumatized watching some of this footage, but it really makes you wonder if they're just beta testing that drone warfare there before bringing it here. You can look it up yourself. I'm not going to play the footage here, but it's beyond graphic, gory, and inhumane, to put it lightly. And Langley, the CEO of this drone system, isn't even hiding it. He says Flock, which is the company name, will eradicate crime in 10 years, which means they're going to watch everyone all the time, every street, every neighborhood. This dude wants drones in the sky and algorithms in the precinct, stitching together your social credit history, mortgage records, internet habits, and even your social credit score too. That's right. First, they beta test the system in places like Ukraine and Gaza. And well, would you look at that? Now they want to bring it here. And it's crazy that it's all under the label of Made in America. Got the branding too. So they can outcompete DGI while still feeding the nationalistic crowd who thinks their cage is safer because it's wrapped in an American flag. And if you think that's bad, get this. Melania Trump, who just reemerged with more AI will take over talk. Remember this tweet right here about preemptive intervention after the Catholic school shooting? Preemptive, guys. In other words, she wants AI-run pre-crime units to stop future threats before they happen. And now she's on stage saying this, in quotes, "The robots are here." How crazy is this? It sounds like some real dystopian sci-fi we're living through.
Cars now steer themselves through our cities. Robots hold steady hands in the operating room. And drones are redefining the future of war. Innovations of first-generation humanoids, factory automation, and autonomous vehicles have surged from private sector investment. Every one of these advancements is powered by AI. The robots are here. Our future is no longer science fiction.
This is crazy, people. What is going on? We are really living through Elysium now, okay? They're going to have AI robot police forces out on the street looking for anti-Semitism. And you know what? She's right, because they're here. They're watching, and they're being sold to you by people who pretend to care about your kids while building the infrastructure to imprison them digitally before they even step a foot in high school. All under the banner of safety, of course. Aren't you loving this freedom right here? It comes with a $500,000 a year drone system that can read your license plate and zoom in on your face from 1,000 feet away while you're just trying to live your life and mind your business. And speaking of a digital golden cage Skynet that's going to enslave everyone, one face scan and one phone tap at a time, guess who just greenlit another layer of it? ICE. That's right. ICE just resumed a multi-million-dollar contract with an Israeli spyware firm called Paragon, co-founded by Epstein's old buddy Ehud Barak. Because of course it is. The software cracks into encrypted apps like Signal and WhatsApp, gathering up your so-called private messages while they tell you it's all to catch illegals. Can you believe that? Exactly what we predicted, all under the guise of getting rid of those illegals, stopping terrorism. While the MAGA crowd cheers, now ICE is targeting them. It's not about border security. It's about building a weaponized data grid that can be flipped inward whenever they feel like it. This same spyware has already been used to spy on activists and journalists overseas, and now it's aimed squarely at US citizens under the soft glow of immigration enforcement. And yeah, Trump approved it. This contract was actually paused under Biden in 2024 because even his team admitted it was a national security risk. But now it's back thanks to the guy who said he'd fight the deep state and protect your freedoms. So the border stays wide open, your phone gets cracked by Mossad tech, and somehow Biden ends up looking more America first than Trump. Yeah, the golden cage is here, I know. You couldn't script this kind of irony. And who's behind all this surveillance? Who's writing the code, building the cage, and quietly turning every phone, camera, and TV screen into a little tattletale snitch with Wi-Fi? The same people preaching about misinformation while training AI to flag your thoughts before you even speak them. And at the rate we're going, quoting the New Testament might get your CBDCs deactivated for extremism. You think I'm joking? Get this. Google just signed a $45 million propaganda contract with Netanyahu's office to amplify Israeli messaging across YouTube, display, and Video 360, and everywhere else that counts. Not to stop violence, not to de-escalate a war, but to whitewash a man-made famine in Gaza. While kids starve literally on camera, they're putting millions of dollars into brainwashing people that it's not happening. The contract literally labels the campaign as a Hezbollah. That's right. That's not me just making this dramatic. No, that's the official term here, which loosely translates to state-sponsored gaslighting. The Israeli government admitted this is about pushing videos that say there is no hunger, even as the UN formally declared a famine. The same campaign flooded your feed with ads smearing the UN, promoting pro-Israel NGOs, and scrubbing the war crimes conversation off the digital map, and Google is in on it too. The same Google that wants AI to rewrite your future and teach your kids, censor your search results, and guide responsible digital behavior, well, they're cashing in on propaganda, all while pretending to be the moral police. One hand signs diversity pledges, the other hand helps bomb the narrative into submission. But don't worry, Sergey Brin reportedly called the UN anti-Semitic when they brought it up. Yeah, because nothing screams accountability like billionaires having a tantrum about whether or not platforms should run ads denying genocide. And at the same time, Melania Trump's warning us that the robots are here and we need to teach the children how to coexist with their Skynet system. Like this is all some kind of feel-good Disney movie. When really, this is a beta test for AI-run behavioral prisons. It's all coming together, okay? Predictive policing, real-time drone surveillance, kind of like they're doing in China, but over there they're doing it over the chikungunya. And they got millions of dollars worth of propaganda, billion-dollar ad contracts meant to brainwash people. Genocide? What genocide? So whether it's Jugal or YouTube, we can expect sponsored ads about how the Greater Israel Project is a great thing for the world. And if you disagree, well, you'll be sent to a prison camp, okay? Probably be my cellmate. And get this, TikTok has new speech laws too. TikTok updated its guideline 15 days after hiring a former IDF soldier and proud Zionist to fight anti-Semitism. If you call the IDF terrorist, you can be banned because that violates community guidelines now. They also changed all racial supremacy as hate speech to only white supremacy now. So, mind you, TikTok went from being the best, believe it or not, the best platform to get your content out there. I remember getting millions of views on clips I uploaded around 4 years ago. Then about a year later, something dramatically changed. It became the worst platform out there, worse than YouTube, worse than Instagram, all of them. I'm on my 30th account now, and I don't even bother posting a single video anymore because whatever I post will get a strike. I'm talking about even posting a video about the benefits of sunlight. Okay, they're like, oh, hell no, you're banned. Can't be trying to make people healthy while we poison them. You're out of here. If it was that bad 3 years ago, I can't imagine what it's like now. TikTok basically feels like a Mossad-run brainwashing app engineered to fry your brain, push soft-core degeneracy, and kill dissent before it can go viral. That's right, an app strictly to push Western decadence into the minds of the masses. So, you still think the people in charge don't know what's coming? Okay, all of the surveillance at the same time an economic collapse is bound to happen, mathematically guaranteed. Explain this one right here. For the first time since 1996, foreign central banks now hold more gold than U.S. treasuries. Okay, this is not some financial trivia. Okay, that's basically a siren letting you know that central banks around the world, the same ones that used to treat U.S. debt like holy scripture, start quietly dumping treasuries and piling into gold. It's because they know something's coming, okay? And they're preparing to survive it. You don't do that unless you think the dollar is done. This isn't about confidence anymore. It's about escape. These global institutions are offloading U.S. paper like it's radioactive and replacing it with real, tangible, unprintable value. And here's the proof. In just 3 years, the dollar has lost 50% of its value against gold. Half its purchasing power gone. Look at this chart right here. This isn't a dip. This is like free fall, people. This is, clear as day. This is what happens right before an empire collapses. People keep asking when the crash is coming. Well, it's already here. You're just not feeling the full force of it yet. That's where Plan B comes in, because Plan B is the controlled demolition of the current financial order. They know the dollar can't be saved, so they're crashing it deliberately, but in a way they can control. The goal isn't to fix the economy, it's to replace it. The new system will run on digital currencies, biometric IDs, and programmable money, where every transaction can be tracked or even shut off. Under Plan A, the elites ruled through faith in the dollar. Under Plan B, they'll rule through direct control over your access to money. And that's Plan B because Plan A, the illusion of endless American dominance, fiat stability, and global compliance is dead. And if Plan B doesn't hold, they've got Plan C ready to go, okay? War, pandemic, maybe both. Maybe a fake alien invasion for dessert as well. You can smell the desperation in the air. France is now militarizing its hospital systems for incoming waves of war casualties by March 2026. Germany's defense chief says they're on guard as Russia kicks off Zapad 2025. NATO's out here doing press tours about how China and Russia are about to launch coordinated attacks on Taiwan and the Baltics. Meanwhile, the Fed is preparing to cut rates into rising inflation. Bond yields are surging because nobody wants to touch US debt. Term premiums are screaming that the system's broken. And just like that, we're back to 2008 panic levels. Except this time, there's no room left to maneuver. The globalists see it all slipping, the economy collapsing, inflation spiraling, public trust disintegrating, and worst of all of them, their global trafficking networks unraveling in real time, okay? Epstein's ghost is dancing through headlines again. The cover-ups are cracking, and their algorithmic chokehold on public perception is losing its grip. So what do? They lash out like a cornered, demonic raccoon, wounded, foaming at the mouth, desperate. This is crash out mode. This is when they pull every last fire alarm, launch every last false flag, and try to turn the world upside down just to avoid accountability. Because they know the system is going down, and the only question left is whether they can control the collapse or get buried underneath it. Something big is coming, and by November, we'll all know exactly what they chose, okay? And just as the panic meter hits red, Trump drops a bombshell tweet. The US has lost India and Russia to deepest, darkest China. May they have a long and prosperous future together. Now, you could write that off as Trump being Trump, another tweet here sounding like he's just talking shit, but that's not what this is. This tweet isn't just political theater, it's psyop conditioning. He's telling his base and the world that the US has already lost the next war, that India, Russia, and China are now joined at the hip, and America is falling behind. It's like a declaration of failure on the world stage. It's prepping the population to accept the coming collapse, not as failure, but as betrayal. We were stabbed in the back, he'll say. We have to fight now. That's how you manufacture consent for the next war, by framing it as already lost unless we take action. And who gets to lead the rescue? You already know the answer. This tweet is a form of programming the public for the next manufactured disaster. They know exactly what's coming. They're just trying to make sure you blame the right boogeyman when the smoke clears. And right as the financial system teeters on the edge of collapse, suddenly the headlines just out of nowhere explode. We need to focus on Venezuela and Puerto Rico. That's right, they're our enemies now. Trump sending F-35 stealth jets to the Caribbean, warning Venezuelan pilots that if they get too close to U.S. ships, they'll be shot out of the sky. The Pentagon's hyping up cartel boats being sunk, 11 men dead, while politicians bicker over whether it was self-defense or a war crime. They're tying it all back to the overdose crisis, saying it's about saving lives from cartel-linked fentanyl that killed over 400,000 Americans during the Biden years. But this is all about narrative control. It has nothing to do with saving lives. The same people who let the border flood with illegals and drugs for decades are now pretending to be tough on crime and foreign threats just in time for the dollar to collapse. These military moves aren't just about Venezuela. They're about manufacturing enemies and justifying a domestic crackdown, selling the public on the idea that only a high-tech militarized surveillance grid can keep them safe. Cartels, immigrants, hostile nations, they're all just pieces on the board. While the news screams about stealth jets and naval standoffs, the real war is being waged quietly at home, building the infrastructure of a digital Skynet-style control system to track, police, and eventually shut down anyone who resists the golden cage, the new world order. In Germany, it looks like they want to get the right people in place before this event takes place. So we're seeing a kind of deja vu here, kind of like what happened in Mexico. Around 40 or so candidates just so happen to be murdered just so they can get the first female Jewish president installed. Yeah, in a country that's 99% Catholic or so. And now BlackRock is swooping in and they're already talking about digital IDs, anti-Semitism laws, you name it. Yeah, totally organic and 100% natural. 7 candidates from the anti-globalist AfD party, all from the same party, have dropped dead within just 2 weeks leading up to one of the biggest regional elections in Germany, set for September 14 in North Rhine-Westphalia. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. North Rhine-Westphalia. Sounds like mass murder to me. The odds of that happening naturally are beyond astronomical. Less than 1 in a trillion. Those are the odds here. And we're supposed to believe this is all coincidence. This looks like a cleanup operation, clearing the field before the vote so there's no resistance when the bigger moves come. One of the deaths was written off as a suicide, the others as natural causes. How convenient. You know, the CIA had heart attack guns decades ago. Well, now they come in the form of a syringe, I think, They just get vaccinated. Or maybe direct energy weapons that target the heart, DEWs that are more effective if you have that substance in you. 7 key figures erased right before an election that could have derailed the agenda. This is like political house cleaning, plain and simple. Making sure that when it's time to officially pull the trigger on a war with Iran or Russia or whatever it is they're planning, there isn't a single person in power who might stand up and say no. I mean, how insane is this? Just this year in January, the German AfD leader pledges this to hold accountable those suppressing opinions during the COVID pandemic over vaccine deaths and side effects. I mean, it looks like many people in her party are now being knocked off one by one. But something about this seems really fishy, okay? The truth is, if Germany is going to be saved, the AfD is a good move forward, but in reality, Germany needs a far more right-wing party, okay? Take a look at what Germany looks like here, folks. Yeah, take a look at this video right here. Now, no, this is not Saudi Arabia. This is the land of great Germany. Hitler is rolling in his grave, doing somersaults and backflips. How could a once great nation destroy itself like this? Rhetorical question, of course. What if this whole thing isn't coming from the outside at all, though? What if the ones benefiting the most from these sudden deaths are sitting right at the top of the AfD? That's right. What if the main party leader is behind this? I mean, look at the headlines here. Meet the lesbian Goldman Sachs economist who just led Germany's far right to victory. That alone should tell you everything. The so-called anti-globalist party is out here waving Israeli flags, and their leader doesn't even live in Germany. She lives in Switzerland. Same place as Klaus Schwab. Okay, totally normal, right? This reeks of controlled opposition. I mean, first you give people a little hopium, just like Trump. We will hold those accountable that push the COVID vaccine, says the lesbian globalist who worked for Goldman Sachs and has a brown wife and lives in Switzerland. And somehow she's the face of the German far right. She's basically a more masculine version of Mark Carney. Now 7 anti-globalist candidates die suddenly right before a major election, leaving the party with a leader who's practically designed to lose. This doesn't look like a movement ready to win. It looks like a humiliation ritual. They hand the opposition a leader that's a walking contradiction, a perfect target for the media to rip apart. So when the AfD goes down, the entire movement goes down with it. That's how you kill hope and control the opposition at the same time. And speaking of demons in charge, the demons are onto more demonic activities here. Because while Gaza is being bombed into dust, Trump's inner circle is quietly rolling out a blueprint for the day after that reads like a dystopian investor blueprint. The plan is to turn Gaza into a US-run trusteeship for the next decade, sweep out its 2 million residents under the warm, fuzzy label of voluntary relocation, and then rebuild it as a billionaire's playground filled with AI smart cities, EV factories, and luxury hotels. This isn't random chaos, people. It's part of the greater Israel project. And Trump is fully on board, whether his supporters want to face it or not. Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich just announced that he's drafting maps to annex 82% of the West Bank, openly declaring the goal maximum territory and minimum Arab population, end quote. He didn't even bother to wrap it up in diplomatic language at all. Even the United Arab Emirates, one of Israel's supposed peace partners under the Abraham Accords, warned that such a move would be a red line that could collapse regional integration and potentially set the entire Middle East on fire. And this is where it gets interesting, okay? U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, recently warned that an Israeli occupation of the West Bank could trigger an economic collapse, in quotes, leading to a violent escalation, saying it won't be a winning deal for anyone. That sounds like a cautionary statement on the surface, but think about how vague it is. Economic collapse for who? He never says. Is he talking about the Palestinian economy, which has already been ground into dust? Israel's economy, which could implode under the weight of war spending and international backlash? Or is he signaling something bigger? a regional or even global financial collapse triggered by a deliberately manufactured crisis. Because here's the thing, wars like this don't just destroy cities, they create opportunities for resets. Chaos can be monetized. If Gaza and the West Bank are leveled and rebuilt with tokenized land schemes and digital currencies and foreign-controlled infrastructure, then collapse isn't a side effect. It's the point. Break the old system so you can replace it with a new one that's fully centralized and controllable. So if you see what's happening in Gaza, people offered $5,000 each, digital tokens, AI smart cities if they just accept the agenda. Do you not see what's coming to you soon? And here's another signal flashing bright red. The White House just announced that it's officially renaming the Department of Defense back to its old school title, the Department of War. Yeah, think about that for a second. First, the Trump administration quietly moves up to buy defense contractors, consolidating the military-industrial complex under tighter control. Now they're dropping the pretense of defense altogether and calling it what it really is, war. What it isn't good for. That's right, people. That's not just branding change. That's a warning shot, a sign they're gearing up for a massive conflict. You don't rebrand the entire defense apparatus unless you're conditioning the public for something big, the Department of War. Something catastrophic, a war so massive it reshapes global economies and politics overnight. Remember when they said Trump is anti-war and he'll end all wars? Yeah, I know. And war for who? Well, Trump's incoming Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, made it crystal clear. When called a Christian Zionist, during his Senate hearing, he fired back. I'm a Christian, and I robustly support the state of Israel and its existential defense. I support Israel destroying and killing every last member of Hamas. Before Israel's invasion of Gaza, Hegseth even said, Israel is about to do real war. Israel will be stacking bodies because Netanyahu isn't messing around, acting like it's some Call of Duty game. Okay, and now he's saying Department of War. Let's go, baby. And never forget, Epstein is saying from his grave, U.S. politicians stand with Israel because I blackmailed them. And that's right, people. And now we got the biggest cheerleader for Israel in charge of the U.S. I mean, look at the mechanics here of Trump's plan for Gaza. Residents would receive a digital token for their land through something called the Great Trust. They could redeem that token for an apartment in one of 6 to 8 planned smart cities or use it to start over somewhere else. Those who agree to leave get $5,000 in cash, 4 years of rent subsidies, and 1 year of food support, basically a coupon for being exiled. Isn't that cool? If they stay, they're corralled into sealed, secure zones while their former homes are bulldozed and resold to investors. The pitch to financiers is simple, a $100 billion investment with a promised 4-fold return in 10 years, thanks to self-generating revenue streams, sounding like a war turned into a profit model. These are the same people tied to the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, where over 1,000 Palestinians were killed trying to get food, 3/4 of them near GHF distribution points, and now they want to run the redevelopment? This is like putting arsonists in charge of the fire department. Trump already previewed this future in February with that AI fever dream video. Remember this one? Golden Trump statues, champagne beach parties, Elon Musk tossing cash to kids like a Vegas magician, all while the real Gaza was nothing but smoke and rubble. Netanyahu loved it, of course. European and Arab leaders condemn it for what it was, ethnic cleansing. So when Huckabee starts talking about economic collapse tied to these plans, it might not be a warning at all. It could be a soft launch for what's coming next, a controlled demolition of the old regional economy to make way for a fully digitized, foreign-owned infrastructure. This isn't just about taking land, it's about creating a blank slate for a new system where digital tokens replace property rights, AI surveillance replaces governments, and chaos itself becomes the engine of profit. You strip away the buzzwords and you see the true shape of the plan. Erase the population, privatize the land, and turn war into a business model. And Trump isn't just a bystander, he's the salesman holding the golden shovel, okay? The circus surrounding the Epstein files has gone from tragic to flat out comedy at this point. Okay, calling it a Democrat hoax. This is insane. If it weren't so damn sinister, it would be hilarious. First, they promised to finally release the files. Transparency, they shouted. Then when everyone held their breath, they rolled out a few binders to those idiots, parading around the booklets like they were about to release something, and next thing you know, we're told there are millions of pages to go through. So be patient, okay? Then poof, turns out there aren't any real Epstein files at all. Total magic trick. See how it works? The narrative just shifts overnight. Oh, these files? Yeah, just a Democrat hoax. Nothing to see here, folks. Meanwhile, anyone who's actually pushing for the truth, like Rep. Thomas Massie, suddenly becomes public enemy number one. Why? Because he had the nerve to name names, and not just any name. He dropped the bombshell of John Paulson, one of the richest GOP donors out there. This isn't some dude with a fancy yacht. This is a guy who bankrolls the Republican Party, cuts checks to the Speaker of the House, and pours money straight into Trump's campaign. And oh yeah, he just so happens to have a little cozy spot there in Epstein's little black book. Totally normal, right? But here's where it gets even darker. While Epstein's victims were holding a conference to tell their stories, to speak their truth, Trump had 8 fighter jets fly over and drown out their voices mid-speech. You can't make this up. It's basically like a military way of saying STFU. Shut the hell up from the sky. These victims are about to release their own list, they say. So yeah, get ready to watch them get picked off one by one faster than Mexican candidates in the way of a Jewish politician. One of the victims even named Trump directly, claiming there are tapes of him with many girls, all recorded by Epstein himself. Yet somehow the media yawns and looks the other way, and behind the curtain it gets uglier, people. A hidden recording surfaced of Trump's own DOJ deputy chief laughing about how the FBI is redacting all the Republican names and leaving only the Democrats to take the fall. He even admitted that Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to keep her mouth shut because apparently the whole system works like a witness protection program for predators in suits. Left, right, red, blue, none of that actually matters when you realize this is one giant blackmail ring with tentacles wrapped around both parties. Past presidents, current candidates, and God knows who else. They keep telling us it's about politics, but really it's about power and the safety of children. The deep state is real. It's here, and it's hiding behind every carefully redacted page they swore they'd show us, but never will. And now, the crazy twist here is survivors themselves have announced they're privately compiling their own Epstein list. The names of powerful men who raped, trafficked, and terrorized them. They can't release it publicly because they'll be sued into oblivion, ruined financially before they ever saw a day in court. But Rep. Thomas Massie and MGT, this is really interesting here, they're willing to do what the FBI and DOJ won't. He tweeted that they're ready to stand on the House floor and name those names under constitutional speech or debate immunity. That means they can say it without fear of lawsuits or censorship. Think about how insane that is. The survivors can't even speak the truth without risking everything, while the government sits on blackmail files like it's a national treasure. And it's come to this point now, 2 politicians having to use the Constitution as a shield just to drag these demons into the light. It's wild to me how some of Trump's diehard fans are now turning their pitchforks on Thomas Massie. You know, this is the same guy who's been fighting the climate change scam, pushing back on the lockdown craziness. You know, he was the one standing up against insane taxes and basically calling out government overreach every step of the way. And now that he's shining a light on the Epstein network and demanding answers, suddenly some people are mad at him. Since when did going after pedophiles become so controversial? Epstein Tracker on Twitter says this. This is right after the White House allegedly released tens of thousands of files. After scanning them, Epstein Tracker says only 1% of the files are new, 99% are old. We were lied to again. Oh, boo-hoo. Matter of fact, let's give this man a Fell For It Again award. That's right, people. This one comes in the form of a memory eraser weapon by the Men in Black. Repeating segment here, giving props to Florida being the most base place on earth. I can't believe this because I did go over a story about a woman getting arrested for anti-Semitism last podcast. It turns out that story was not real. A lot of accounts that I followed that I actually trusted were sharing that story. Millions and millions of impressions on that story of a woman that allegedly was the first case of being arrested under this new anti-Semitism law. It turns out that was not real. And it gave me hope. Thank God it wasn't, because I was hoping that did not take place in Florida, because it would have broken my heart. Because Florida is like the last beacon of hope for the world, actually. Matter of fact, let's look at the difference between Canada and the US, specifically Florida. Over here, our police chiefs are saying if someone breaks into your home wanting to kill you, please hide under the couch or something. Do not engage. Let them take everything. Let them rape your wife. Just sit there, wait to die, you beta male bitch, okay? Versus Florida police chief, this dude saying, shoot them dead. They come into your home. Matter of fact, they knock on your door, shoot them dead. It's so crazy, the difference. Check this out.
In the unlikely event that you find yourself the victim of a home invasion, we are urging citizens not to take matters into their own hands.
We have received information in social media that some of the criminals were going to take their criminal conduct into the neighborhoods.
While we don't want homeowners to feel powerless, we urge you to call 911 and do everything you can to keep yourself and loved ones safe until police arrive and be the best witness possible.
I would tell them, if you value your life, you probably shouldn't do that in Polk County, because the people of Polk County like guns. They have guns. I encourage them to own guns, and they're going to be in their homes tonight with their guns loaded. And if you try to break into their homes to steal, to set fires, I'm highly recommending they blow you back out of the house with their gun.
This could mean locking yourself in a room away from the perpetrators, hiding, fleeing the home.
Hiding.
Don't engage unless absolutely necessary.
Don't engage.
The best defense for most people is to comply.
If you're not afraid of a gun, get one. Become proficient. Get a concealed firearms license and carry it. And if you need to shoot somebody, shoot them a lot.
Not only have no regret, I'm pretty excited about telling you that's exactly what would have happened. And make no mistake about it, there's nothing about politically correct in a gunfight. There's nothing about politically correct when you're keeping people alive and well and safe. And the people of this community and these law enforcement officers come first. I meant every word of it then, and I mean every word of it now. If you surrender peacefully, that's the way we prefer it. You start pointing guns at us, you can not only plan on, but you can guarantee we're going to shoot you.
Base Florida. Great comment here. 2 to the chest, face gets the rest. Difference between Canada and the States. The man had the nerve to say, if someone breaks into your home trying to kill you, please comply or go hide under the couch or something. How pathetic has Canada become? It's truly pathetic. This dude says shoot them. Not only shoot them a lot. Florida. Shout out to Florida, because I'm going to go over a story here because the Surgeon General of Florida just banned all vaccine mandates for children. How incredible is this?
Is an announcement that we're going to make, that we're making now, which is that the Florida Department of Health, in partnership with the governor, is going to be working to end all vaccine mandates in Florida law. All of them. All of them.
Great. Based.
All of them.
Unbelievable. That's great
Every
news.
last one of them. Yeah.
He says your body is a gift from God. What you put in your body is because of your relationship with your body and God. That is very well said. Florida is looking like the place to be. Banning all vaccine mandates for children. And now suddenly Trump wants answers, folks. Mr. Operation Warp Speed himself. You know, this is how the cycle works. You drop a little truth, inject people with some hopium, and then you crack the whip. I went over this. It's the push and pull method, and I've talked about it before. First, you give people a sliver of hope. That's what Trump did when he posted this tweet saying he wants the truth about the vaccine rollout. He wrote, "I have been shown information from Pfizer and others that is extraordinary, but they seem to never show the public these results. Why not?" Then said they show me great numbers and results, but they don't seem to be showing them to many others. And finally added, "I hope Operation Warp Speed was as brilliant as many say it was. If not, we all want to know about it and why." This is how the push and pull game works. Trump kicks off with a Truth Social post around September 1st, demanding accountability from the vaccine makers, calling Operation Warp Speed brilliant, saying he's seen extraordinary data yet nobody else has. So he wants it studied. He wants it looked over again. Maybe he was wrong, that fleeting moment of hope waving. That's what you call it. That's the push. Then just a few days later, he hosts a private dinner at the White House with Bill Gates, Zuckerberg, Tim Cook, and a table of swamp creatures and tech tyrants. Gates uses the moment to pitch a new alliance on AI, gene editing, and more mRNA shots, built on the same warp speed blueprint. And Trump, he nods along like it's some kind of family reunion. And who's Gates again? The same Event 201 planner, the man buying up farmland in order to build cricket factories, fake meat pusher, the guy who hung out with Epstein, visited the island, and even went over how they wanted to build a transhumanist master race with Epstein's DNA. How sick is that? That's who Trump rolls out the red carpet for. And right after that dinner, 4 new mRNA COVID shots get approved by the FDA. That's the pull. Get it? The push and pull method right here. Once again, give the crowd a glimmer of truth, then drag them back into the biotech hell. Same scam, new label. At that dinner, Gates stood up and said he and Trump are teaming up again to eradicate disease. Okay, through AI, gene editing, and you guessed it, new mRNA vaccines. Can someone eradicate this disease right here? Does anyone have an injection to eradicate this one? Can an injection eradicate this one? He even said they're using Operation Warp Speed as the blueprint. And Trump just sat there nodding like it was the greatest idea he's ever heard. No questions, no objections, just full steam ahead with Operation Warp Speed 2.0. Right after questioning it, allegedly in a tweet. Same guy who funded Gates' Gavi alliance in 2020 is now back at the table like none of it ever happened. MAGA didn't just get betrayed, it got played. People wanted public executions, and what do they get? They get swamp creatures at a meeting talking about Operation Warp Speed. That's right, people. This is the 5D chess that people are going over, okay? The mental gymnastics Trump supporters are pulling just to convince people he's still a good guy is actually comically insane. It'll have you holding your sides, laughing, falling out of your chair. I'm not even joking, folks, because look at WikiLeaks' response to this right here. So right after Gates told Trump his work will change the world, WikiLeaks says, funny how Trump brings people on camera when he wants to show people how evil they are. No one knew about Tony Fauci before Trump paraded him to the world. And Ken James responds with, so he's going to injure another few million people to show the world how evil Gates is? Come on, man. WikiLeaks responds with billion. This is unbelievable. So just let him poison another few billion people, then maybe people will wake up finally to how evil Bill Gates is. It's all part of Trump's 5D chess, just let a few billion people die. The Deagle report playing out in real time, but it's all part of Trump's plan, guys. Relax, okay? Just a few more billion people dead. How insane are these people? MAGA didn't just get betrayed, it got played. And just when people were still processing that, 2 days after Gates' dinner, okay, this is what I mean. It's all in order here. 2 days after this, the FDA quietly approved 4 new mRNA COVID shots. Right on schedule. That's how the cycle works. Give people hope, then hit them again. This isn't coincidence, it's controlled demolition. Meanwhile, Trump's pretending he's shocked, says he wants answers like he wasn't the one who fast-tracked all of this in the first place. He branded himself the father of the vaccine, handed billion-dollar contracts to Pfizer and Moderna, skipped the trials, and let Big Pharma run the show. But now he wants to know why Pfizer's keeping secrets? Yeah, right. The data's already out. VAERS is overflowing, guys. Brain clots up 3,000%. Psychosis, 440%. Depression, 530%. Homicidal thoughts, 25 times more likely. Yeah, tell me this isn't a demonic, satanic injection right here. But sure, let's pretend the issue is that Pfizer just forgot to loop us in. Forget that Italian study tracking 300,000 people that found cancer rates exploded post-jab. Breast cancer up 54%, bladder cancer 62%, colorectal cancer 35%. But Trump's concern is why he got to see the extraordinary results and we didn't. What were they written in? A crayon? And the real trick here from day one, is them rigging the stats. Remember Bill Gates' favorite book, How to Lie with Statistics? Yeah, anyone who died within 2 weeks of the shot got counted as unvaccinated. Yep, surprise, surprise, just so they could blame the fallout on the very people who refused it. That's the scam. It's a scam with vaccines in general, and Trump helped roll it out. So forgive us if we're not jumping for joy now that he's suddenly asking questions. This isn't a redemption arc. It's damage control with an orange spray tan. If you still think this is part of some master plan, take a good look at who Trump surrounds himself with. Who's at that table? Yeah, the same people who built the machine, the same people who profited, the same people who are now helping him pretend to dismantle it. This isn't justice, it's theater. And if this is the part of the story where the hero turns, well, they're about 4 years too late and a few million deaths deep, possibly billions of people injured. And for the well, ain't that some shit segment, after years of people getting heart problems after the shot, these geniuses are now bragging that a high-dose flu vaccine is somehow better at preventing myocarditis and pericarditis than the regular one, at least if you're over 65, they say. Out of more than 300,000 old folks in Denmark, there were only 2 cases of myocarditis. And surprise, they were both in the standard dose group, they say. So now the headline reads like Big Pharma just cured heart inflammation with more vaccines instead of less. The study didn't even bother comparing vaccinated people to completely unvaccinated people, and it's funded by Sanofi, the same company making the damn shot. Even better, most of the participants already had heart problems going in. So basically, this whole thing is like testing parachutes on people halfway to the ground and then claiming victory when one rips slightly slower than the other one. And now Trump's coming out saying maybe we should question Operation Warp Speed. Really? Is it too little too late? I mean, look at what's happening in Japan. Now Japan's hitting the panic button, and not because of a new virus. No, not an imaginary virus this time. Now they're waking up to what really poisoned people, because their triple jab population is suddenly drowning in their own lungs. Literally. No exaggeration. Doctors are now sounding the alarm over a wave of deadly lung inflammation, serious cases of pneumonia showing up in people who took the Pfizer mRNA shot. And guess what? It ain't looking rare anymore. A new peer-reviewed study led by one doctor here in collaboration with a university just documented a 77-year-old man who went from normal breathing to full-blown respiratory failure within 48 hours of his 3rd shot. No infection, no pre-existing lung issues, just a healthy guy who took the jab and collapsed into a cytokine firestorm. His immune system went berserk, lit up his lungs and nearly killed him. CT scans showed ground glass opacities, which is basically doctor speak for your lungs turning into a war zone. His IL-6 and IL-8 levels were off the charts. Those are the cytokines that start systematic inflammation. This guy only survived because they threw him on a ventilator and hit him with steroid shock therapy. But here's the crazy part. This time they caught it early. They got the biological data before hospitalization, meaning they now have a molecular snapshot of exactly what these shots can trigger. It's all right there in black and white. But the regulators were remaining silent, still pretending this is rare. Meanwhile, doctors across Japan are now openly warning that these kinds of lung reactions are surging. And how many people have already dropped dead from mystery pneumonia, in quotes, that was just a cover for this same immune collapse? How many ER visits labeled coincidence were actually vaccine-triggered cytokine storms? So the same lipid nanoparticles in the shots are now linked to cancers, birth complications, and infant deaths. And now they're being caught triggering sudden respiratory failure in previously healthy people. Japan's doctors are telling clinicians to watch for IL-6 and IL-8 spikes to catch this early. But the truth is, how many red flags does it take before we admit this is a systemic problem? At what point does the word rare lose all meaning? And it looks like they got the 6G up and running. No joke. This is probably what's triggering these vaccine payloads to be set off. A COVID resurgence all of a sudden. I know I hate that word more than you can imagine. I hate the word COVID. But the media is pushing the narrative that COVID is back. A full-blown surge, a summer uptick. The CDC claims infections are rising in most states. pointing to high virus levels in wastewater. Oh, great. They're testing people's shit again. Oh, that's just great. That's a perfect way to determine how much disease is out there in places like Texas, Utah, and Nevada. The new dominant strain nicknamed Nimbus. Oh, great. Nimbus is back. Yeah, that's right. Nimbus for the Nimrods. Supposedly spreads a little easier, but isn't deadlier. That's what they actually say. Their explanation is people huddling indoors in air-conditioned spaces, summer travel crowds, and fading immunity from last winter's shots or infections. Yeah, great. I can't believe they're doing this again. It's just so ridiculous. If you really take a step back and think about how insane this is, you will actually, you'll get a good laugh out of it. So all of a sudden, there's a new virus that came out of a lab in 2020. This is what they want us to believe. And now we have surges in this rare virus, this novel virus that was released. It goes away and comes back randomly from now to the end of time. All right. It just doesn't go away. It just basically is the flu, or maybe it is the flu. A new virus that will just stay with us forever, and it just mutates into new variants forever. Oh, those damn Chinese scientists. We might as well just go to war with them, right? So the same script is playing out, new variant, and time to get more boosters. But it's just crazy to see so many tweets. Do you guys not see all these tweets of people getting sick? Some unusual illness popping up all of a sudden? For example, Nick Fuentes says he's been sick for weeks, tweeting about it over and over again. Like it's a real serious thing. Like he's really, really sick. Just endless posts about the same thing here. One post here, a programmer, it looks like this dude named Ron right here. This dude has 500,000 followers. He says he's had COVID symptoms for the past few days, coughing, fever, chills. He says, horrible, doesn't seem to be getting better. To which someone replied with, it looks like they've cranked up the 6G. And then Ron responds back with, they are building a new tower about 500 feet away from where I live. Crazy, right? So that theory I had of some illness popping up soon, everywhere just sounds quite plausible, like just in time for this universal flu vaccine. I really think they're doing something to get people sick. And it's mostly people that got the shot. And I do believe that. And as the Japan report states, people's lungs are filling up with fluid, especially after their boosters. And of course, they blame it on Nimbus. This is how insane it is. So will they be releasing a new vaccine soon? And Trump, right after this meeting with Bill Gates, just 2 days after the meeting, 4 new mRNA COVID shots have been approved. Check this insane title right here. COVID surge hits California as officials urge people to start wearing masks again. Oh God, the demonic scumbags love muzzling up the population. In Vancouver, the officials here were urging people to mask up, but not for COVID, but for wildfire smoke. That's right, they want people wearing N95 masks again for wildfire smoke. The Satanists love when you wear masks because they feel at home, because that's what they do in their satanic temples. That's what this is, And just when you thought the gaslighting couldn't get any thicker, here comes the Tylenol psyop. That's what I call it. This is the Tylenol psyop, and it's perfectly timed for September. Remember when RFK said by September, they'll know exactly what's causing autism? He announced that environmental interventions were driving the autism epidemic. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Tylenol is harmless. The Harvard-linked studies show an 80% spike in autism risk when Tylenol is used by pregnant women. Okay, this is a legitimate study with legitimate science showing newborns can't detox this stuff without mom's help. But the way this narrative is being surgically inserted into the mainstream right now, there's something about this, and I'm hoping it's not a psyop like using Tylenol as a scapegoat. This whole thing stinks worse than a Pfizer NDA. Like clockwork, every media outlet is suddenly shouting, look over here, it's Tylenol. It was Tylenol all along. As if the mRNA syringes, the aluminum adjuvants, and 80-plus dose childhood vaccine schedules are just innocent bystanders in this biochemical circus. But let's not forget the context here, okay? Autism rates are exploding. 1 in 31 kids in the US now, according to the CDC's own numbers. I mean, that's insane. That's nearly 5 times higher than it was 2 decades ago. And Kennedy, now tucked inside HHS like a Trojan horse with a conscience, is preparing to drop a major announcement this month. supposedly exposing some of the real triggers behind this neurodevelopmental train wreck. But what if the stage is being prepped here? What if this whole Tylenol reveal is the limited hangout, the shiny object to toss the angry parents while the real culprits keep cashing checks and producing more death shots? Think about it. Tylenol is over the counter. It's expendable. It doesn't come with billions in government contracts or top secret immunity clauses. Throw it under the bus, take the L, tighten pregnancy guidelines a little, and boom, you get to say, see, we found the problem. Meanwhile, the 86 neuropsychiatric disorders linked to the mRNA shots, the turbo cancer spike in Italy, the VAERS backlog no one wants to touch, all of that gets tossed out faster than Trump's Truth Social contradictions. And this just in, COVID mRNA injections cause turbo cancers. That's right, U.S. Health Secretary RFK Jr.'s Make America Healthy Again chief medical advisor will tell UK reform members tomorrow. Isn't that great news right there? I mean, we knew it for years, but hopefully this wakes people up. Will it? I don't even know. I don't have any hope for humans anymore. They are absolutely brain dead. And speaking of contradictions, is Tylenol the sacrificial lamb here? I hope they don't do this. I mean, he said by September, we're all going to know what's causing autism. If they blame Tylenol and not vaccines, I'm going to lose it, okay? I hope I'm wrong about this. I hope RFK Jr. is about to name the real poison. But if they try to sell the public on a fairy tale where autism was caused by a $4 bottle of Tylenol and not an 86-dose childhood schedule for the poison death shots that made half the world a petri dish, then this isn't a breakthrough. It's the rollout of a version 2.0 of the cover-up. Watch who celebrates this one narrative right here. Watch who says, case closed. That's how you'll find the gatekeepers, because it's not just Tylenol, and it never was. And if you think they can slip this one past us, then you've got another thing coming, okay? Doc Malik says long COVID is simply COVID vaccine injury. Sudden infant death syndrome is an infant dying from a vaccine. EyesIsWatchin says autism is just vaccine-induced brain damage. You are absolutely right, Eyes. You sounded real smart right there. He had a great point right there. And just when you thought the CDC couldn't sink any deeper into spiritual rot, and it really lets you know that satanic forces are in charge of big pharma, of these big pharma companies. And I'm not even joking. Look at this past CDC director right here, Dmitry Daskalakis, the man in charge of U.S. vaccine policy, covered in black leather, wearing a pentagram harness like it's just part of a CDC uniform. Maybe it is. I mean, this is not parody, guys. This is real stuff. This is the guy the Biden administration brought in to set the health standards for your children. This wasn't just some random kink photo shoot. This was the actual public face of immunization strategy. Okay, so if anyone wants to know if vaccines are safe for children, and the CDC is begging you to get your children vaccinated, would you really trust a bunch of satanic gay Moloch worshippers? He posed as Satan's PR rep while overseeing a system that pushed puberty blockers, gender mutilation, chemical sterilization, and injections that now show a hard link to heart failure, turbo cancers, and neurological breakdown. And they're putting on this show like he's against Trump and RFK when all of them are pushing the same death shots. A self-declared Satanist having meltdowns over anyone trying to investigate vaccine injuries? And spare me the don't judge his private life defense. When your private life looks like a deleted scene from Eyes Wide Shut meets a pharmacy commercial and you're dictating national health policy, yes, we're judging, okay? We're judging the shit out of you. This isn't about someone's identity or freedom of expression. This is about who's designing protocols that decide what gets pumped into your child's bloodstream. This is a ritualistic belief system hiding inside corrupt, captured big pharma corporations, not ancient occultism seeking enlightenment or knowledge. This is a grotesque inversion of nature, morality, and truth, a parasitic ideology that thrives on mutilation, confusion, and the erasure of innocence. And they call this science or public health or progress. These aren't public health officials. They are cultural arsonists in lab coats. They don't heal, they manage the decay. And the fact that someone like this was holding the charge of the CDC should make every parent in the country pause and ask, if this is who they felt comfortable putting in front of cameras, what kind of monsters are they still hiding behind the curtains? We're not dealing with incompetence anymore. We're dealing with something that's against life, something that hates life and calls it medicine. Unbelievable. I want to finish this with a headline here that just made me jump out of my seat because I read this story and it blew me away because it reminds me of those declassified CIA experiments that claimed we can literally manifest reality just by shifting our state of mind. Like reality is a bendable hologram or some kind of feedback loop we're co-writing in real time. So let me get this straight. After years of mocking people for trusting their gut, for dreaming things before they happened, for saying something just feels off, the same crowd that once called that stuff woo-woo nonsense is now slowly warming up to the idea that time might not even be real, that deja vu could be memory in reverse, that what we've brushed off as just weird feelings might actually be future events leaking backward through consciousness like psychic breadcrumbs. A popular mechanics article comes out with a headline like this: your consciousness can jump through time, meaning gut feelings are memories from the future. How crazy is that? Dr. Julia Mossbridge, who spent decades researching this, says we have what she calls future memories, and she's not some crystal-waving mystic either. She works for legitimate neuroscience institutions like the Mossbridge Institute and the Center for the Future Mind. Her research suggests your consciousness might be picking up signals from ahead of the timeline, like your soul can check for tomorrow's weather. Dean Radin, another researcher in this space, has shown people's brainwaves spike before they're shown disturbing images, like their nervous system already knew what was coming. These studies have been repeated dozens of times, statistically solid, but ignored because they didn't come with a big pharma sponsor. Even the CIA had its own files from the 90s admitting they tested this stuff. Remote viewing, precognition, mind over matter, while publicly pretending it was all science fiction. So if the government was trying to spy on Soviets using psychic time travel, it kind of makes you wonder if DARPA's pre-crime tech and predictive algorithms are just polished up versions of the same thing. The idea here is that consciousness doesn't follow in a straight line. It skips around, maybe even entangles with future versions of itself, which means that anxious feeling in your gut might not be anxiety. It might be a flashback from something that hasn't even happened yet. And if there's even a grain of truth to that, then all of the attempts to dull people's instincts through medication, digital addiction, endless distraction start to look a lot more strategic, especially knowing that this gut feeling disintegrates and deteriorates the more vaccines you get, processed foods leading to worse gut microbiome. Maybe those gut level no moments are a threat to the control grid. Maybe that quiet inner voice is exactly what they're trying to jam. Maybe that's why this vaccine is causing homicidal thoughts, neurological disorders, dementia, forgetfulness. Many posts on Reddit years back, right after people got the shot, they were saying that they feel disconnected from God, a feeling of hopelessness. Was it all done on purpose to achieve this exact goal? They've got AI to predict your next move before you make it, but they still can't crack intuition, the kind of knowing that doesn't come from logic, but from somewhere upstream. And now, just to dial the weirdness up another notch, more articles came out suggesting your consciousness might not even live inside your brain. According to physicists, the brain is like a radio receiver, and your self is a form of signal broadcast in from somewhere outside space-time. Could we be connected to something more divine? Physicists are now saying that the brain could be running in two modes, one physical and one quantum. It's called holographic duality, and it borrows from physics theories that say reality itself might be a 3D projection of encoded 2D information, like your consciousness is logging in from beyond the simulation to play the game. If that's the case, those moments of deja vu, psychedelic flashes, or deep instinct might be little pings from another version of you already further down the road. Some theories even say your neurons sync faster than light, linked by entanglement across different parts of the brain. We can't even measure properly because of the uncertainty principle. The harder you look, the fuzzier it gets. But if any of this is true, it flips the whole paradigm. Consciousness wouldn't just be stuck inside the timeline, it would be helping render it. You're not just inside the simulation, you're helping generate it through attention. And that loops us right back to the whole precognition thing. If your awareness exists outside of time, then remembering the future isn't mystical, it's mechanical. It's just how the system works. Maybe that's why the powers that be are pouring money into brain-computer interfaces, psychedelic therapy, and biometric surveillance, because the one thing they still can't fully lock down is human consciousness. And maybe that's the one thing that can still break their game. Not saying I believe every piece of this, but when you see it stacking up here in CIA archives, peer-reviewed papers, study after study proving this, it makes you wonder if that weird feeling you get sometimes isn't just in your head. Maybe it's coming from somewhere deeper, something outside of space-time. Something divine is trying to tell you something's wrong, or you're moving in the wrong way. You are getting warnings from God. And wherever these feelings are coming from, outside of space-time, that place is real. Somewhere that already knows what's coming next. And this is getting long, folks, and I want to leave it right there. If you like what I do here, if you want to support this channel, it is greatly appreciated. You hit those links in the description. It'll mean the world to me. Everything you see here is done by myself. No ads, no big name sponsors. It's up to the people if you guys want to see this show grow and continue going. So please click those links in the description. It'll mean the world to me if you subscribe on Patreon or Subscribestar, because you will be the MVP helping fund this podcast. If you guys want to support through one-time donations, links are in the description. Eyes Wide Open Coffee, great organic coffee from Gustavus, Alaska. It is my favorite. Click those links in the description if you want to support crypto people. My wallets are in the description of this video if you guys want to support. P.O. Box, if you guys want to send me cool mail, whatever it is you want to send me, P.O. Box is in the description of this video. So until next week, folks, until next time, this is Steve Eyes. You're on the Eyes is Watching channel, signing off.